Welcome everybody to our webinar sponsored by Insurance WebX. Appreciate everybody joining us today. It is, I've lost track of the date, Tuesday, April 3rd. This is a live program, not pre-recorded. I have nothing to sell to you today, just except for some ideas that I hope you'll take advantage of. I hope you're ready to take lots of notes because it's a high content program, unless you're driving, of course, in which case, get the recording. Yes, we are recording this. I will send this to you as quickly as I can later today. Probably post it on YouTube for you guys to view. You can catch the slides that way, et cetera, et cetera. There's my email address. If you have a question that we don't cover today, please, by all means, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to answer your questions as best I can. And there's also a link if you're interested in our other resources, our free tips that come out every other Thursday, etc. You can just go right there. So give me, whoops, I hit a button I shouldn't have hit. So let me just give me 1 second to make sure I open the questions tab so I can see that coming in as we go. All right. So by all means, submit a question. And I have a bonus for you. You know, we're going to be talking about inviting guests, having your clients invite guests to events. So all you have to do is shoot me an email. You can do it right now if you want, billcates@referralcoach.com. Just put WebX reports, and in the subject line, I'll know what this means, obviously, and I'll get this report out to you. I also have a few other surprise reports I'll send to you along the way. So, you know, getting referrals, personal introductions, it's not just about asking for them. It's about creating a culture. And that's what this is about. These client appreciation events and events where clients can bring guests is part of that culture of not just referrals, but really good introductions. And so I'm going to give you a little summary of some of my system here real quick so you see how what we're talking about fits into that. And if you're not familiar with what I teach, you'll get a glimpse into that as well. I've created kind of a hierarchy of referrals. Leads, you know, certainly not getting any cheaper or getting any better these days. I'm not saying you don't work them if they work well for your business, but probably not the ideal way to build a robust business. Word of mouth, not bad. Word of mouth is good. We should all be getting some word of mouth. But again, not usually the best way to build a financial or the only way to build a robust financial practice. One thing about word of mouth is that we're not always getting referred to the right people, right? The right fit clients. Now, referral is kind of the traditional referred lead. Call George, use my name. Well, perhaps better than nothing, but not a whole lot, because we know it's just really hard to reach George these days. Now, when we get recommended, when they say, hey, George, take Laura's call, it'll be worth a few minutes of your time. Now we're talking about something that's going to, you know, more likely they're going to take our call. But what we really want, of course, is that solid introduction where we really get connected. And that's where client appreciation events and event marketing really comes into play. And what this also does is creates advocates. Putting together a plan for client appreciation events and event marketing will create better introductions and will create more advocates for your business. And you can see how they feed on each other, and it gets easier and easier and easier. So who gives referrals? According to the study from Julie Littlechild, there's actually a low correlation between client satisfaction and the giving of referrals. What we need is engaged clients. In her particular study, 98, 99% of folks who felt they were engaged with their financial professional are the ones who gave referrals and made introductions. So it's all about client engagement. Client engagement is about them feeling good about the value that you bring, right? You have to keep bringing that ongoing value and feeling good about you, who you are. And you can see how event marketing can play a role into that. And what happens when in our system where you create that engagement and then you leverage that engagement by being proactive for referrals and introductions, and then creating connection where you actually turn the referral into an actual connection and introduction, you can see this really can continue forever, and you'll never want for new clients if you use this process like this, right? So this is how this all fits into our system. And so there are three places for engagement, right? One is the prospect experience, how someone gets engaged with you in the first place and decides to do business with you. You got to make sure that's referable. You have the new client experience, the onboarding process we've covered in past WebXs. We'll cover them again at some point. And then the client service promise, how you're staying in touch with clients over time. And that's certainly where client appreciation events can come into play. It can also come into play in the prospect experience. If you have a prospect that's a really high level and they're not quite ready to make a decision to work with you, you have a client appreciation event going on, you invite them as a guest, and all of a sudden they see the kind of relationship you have with clients, and sometimes that's a done deal. Same thing with centers of influence, by the way, CPAs, attorneys. Make sure you're inviting some of those folks to any kind of client appreciation events that you do. So the ways to leverage in my system, of course, is promoting and asking, and then having these client appreciation events is another way or not just appreciation events. You'll see what we mean as we go through that, but getting connected in that way, and then of course getting introduced, setting the appointment, getting the new prospect to become a client. This is all part of the system that we teach. So I just wanted to give you a sense of how what we're going to talk about here today fits into an overall system of a culture. So what we realized in this particular study was that 61% of people give referrals do it to help a friend, a colleague, a family member, and 37% do it to help the advisor or the agent. And wouldn't it be cool if we could actually bring the two together, right? It's a powerful combination when someone wants to help a friend, family member, a colleague, and they also want to help us. And that's where the business friendship comes into play. This is kind of the secret sauce, if you will, to creating advocates for your business, where you have these events where you get to connect on a social level and they invite guests. And think about it. If you have a client who invites a guest to one of your social events, right, whether you're going out on a boat or golfing or whatever it may be, then you know that deepens the sense of engagement, right? It creates an even higher sense of engagement. So this all begins to feed on each other. So there's three ideas for building business friendships. One is appreciation events, which we're going to cover today. Celebration events, which is kind of a subset of appreciation events, which I'll cover fairly quickly in a few minutes. And then just creating these wow experiences over and over, just the wow experiences, right? And so these are some of the things we're going to talk about. So there's me, picture that's actually a couple years old. I got a couple gray hairs since then. But the benefits of client events, right? Of doing these events where in some cases you will have clients bring guests. Some clients are more comfortable with this. Some clients are more comfortable inviting someone to an event than they are the straightforward creating an introduction. It's a great way to meet high-level prospects. Some of these folks, these high-level prospects, they don't always want to talk about their financial situation right away. They don't want their first meeting with you to be a bring all their statements meeting. They want to get a sense of who you are first. Meeting guests at social settings first means that your business meeting is going to start at a higher level of trust, right? Everything that happens at the social event means when you sit together for the business meeting, you're going to be at a higher level, right? You build the business friendships that we talked about, enhances the engagement, and it's a fun way to do business. And you don't have to become a professional meeting planner to do this. So here's some types of events to consider, and we'll go through some examples today. Client appreciation events without guests. I'm a big believer in client appreciation events and getting folks together just for the enhancement of the relationship, building the business friendship. And so that really should be part of your business in most cases. Then the event with a guest. And we'll talk about, the types of events that are best for guests. Celebration events, as I mentioned, educational events certainly should be part of the mix here. I've seen people do hybrids where they create education and some social together. Nelson Simoes is a financial advisor in Canada, and he tries to add the social event aspect to his educational events where they'll have a chocolate appreciation after the education, or he's got one restaurant he uses that has lawn bowling that they'll gather there first before they go in for the education. So that's kind of what the hybrid event is, where you might put a couple of these together. Now, We know that the purpose of an event is to create engagement, right? Is to create engagement with us and the clients and us and the prospects that are invited. So I really want you to emphasize or err on the side of smaller events. Large events, the rent the movie theater, summer picnic, all those types of things, at holiday parties that people like to do. Look, I'm not saying don't do them, but let's understand that the connections are going to be very thin when you have much smaller events, meaning, at a dinner, 8 to 10 people at the most, wine tasting, 15, 18, maybe 20, because you can walk around and schmooze with people, cooking class, 12 to 14, 15, right? So generally you want to err on the side of smaller events. Now, the distinction between an appreciation event and a referral event, or an event for introductions, is you want to make sure you're clear about this, and I'll give you the verbiage in that report that I've also offered to you. For those of you just joined us, I'll tell you how to get the report in a minute. This is the distinction that we have to make with our clients. The mistake that a lot of people make is they say, hey, we're having this event, we're having this client appreciation event, this wine tasting, feel free to bring a guest, right? And no guests. Or the people that do come aren't necessarily, qualified or interested in working with you or even meeting you for that matter. They just want the benefits of some event. So we have to make a distinction in our mind so that we can then transfer that distinction to our clients. So client appreciation events, referral events, celebration events, all types of events. I want to focus on the celebration ones right now because these are some cool ideas. I want you to get them real quick. So there's different types of celebration events, right? There could be a birthday of a client. It could be a wedding anniversary. It could be a business anniversary. It could be a new business venture that you're helping them launch a little bit. It could be retirement. So Gail is a financial advisor in Red Bank, New Jersey, and Gail has built a very robust, successful business on birthday events. And what she'll do is she'll call her client up. She'll say, hey, George, you're having your 50th in a couple of weeks. Would love to help you celebrate. What if I take you to lunch? You can invite a couple of colleagues from work, some of those guys, gals you work with, and we'll just have a little party, a little nice lunch. And that's what happens. And they bring a few friends, people like her, usually at a similar position, similar level to theirs. And invariably she says, someone, lingers a little longer after lunch and says, Bob said you did a great job for him. I would love to have you take a look at our situation. And that's how she's built a very robust business. Look, your job is meeting people, right? Meeting more people like your ideal clients. And what better way to do that in a social gathering? New business venture. Let's say someone has started a new business, they're a solopreneur and they're getting going. What a great way to help them and do something nice for clients and guests and meet new people. Then that, you probably have some clients and other people in the community that would love to open their space. Could be a spa, could be any kind of space where they want high-level people coming in to experience their space. They'll give you the space for nothing, and you'll buy some drink and food, but sometimes you can get the venue, and an interesting venue for much less money. So let's focus on a couple of very specific folks doing this. Joe DeSena, very successful, very high level at his company, just based on Long Island. He just opened an office in Boca as well. I guess getting ready for a little bit of retirement, or slower pace, but he's opening a new office. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, he calls his client up. He says, Bob, you're retiring this summer. I want to help you celebrate. Send me a guest list, about 40 people. We'll do all the inviting. We'll do everything. You just show up as a guest of honor. Now you're thinking, 40 people? I'm not in the event planning business. How can I do a meeting with 40 people? Well, I'm not expecting you to start with 40. And Joe didn't start with 40. He started with small groups of 5, 10 people at the most for a dinner to celebrate someone retiring. And it grew. It worked so well that he's grown to this size. Now, he and his staff invite everybody. So now the people being invited see that it's the financial advisors putting this on. It's not it's not the spouse, it's not a colleague from work, et cetera. So they do all the inviting. And then, of course, at the guest of honor, thanks, Joe. And he says, clink, 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 glasses, right? Everybody's attention. I just want to introduce everybody to Joe DeSena. If you haven't met him yet, he's responsible for this evening. And quite frankly, he's responsible for me retiring as I can now in a manner that I can. So not only has he been a great advisor, but as you can see from this evening, he's also been a great friend. And that's when it starts. Psst, Joe, can you give me a card? My advisor, cheapskate, never do anything like this. And this is where Joe has really built his business, a very high-level, successful business using retirement events. Joe does follow up with the guests. He makes sure that he presents himself as a resource to these folks. The client knows that. He's very low-key and professional about it, but he does follow up, which is very important. And Joe told me he averages 7 new high-level clients at every anniversary event. Think about who's going to be at this event. It's going to be people like the guy or gal retiring, right? People at that same level. Yeah, there's some kids running around. There's some relatives there, of course, but there's also a lot of high-level prospects there. So I've got another example of what a specific advisor is doing around these kind of social things. So possibilities of events, and then I'm going to give you some very specific guidelines to follow. I'm looking at the Q&A board. I haven't seen any Q&A coming in yet, so just type it in there when you have something. So holiday parties, like I mentioned, they're fine, but they're usually larger. Most advisors, agents tend to make larger events, and we really want to err on the side of smaller because we want better connections, right? Same thing with the summer luau. My advisor did one a couple summers ago. And he realized that, it was great. Everybody had fun. He spent a lot of money, but he didn't really create any connections. And so I'm not saying don't do this, but let's understand the purpose of what we're trying to create. Now let's look at a sporting event, right? If you're sitting in the stands, you've got, some guy you got your one guest on one side, you got another guest on the other side. You're connecting with a couple of people, maybe a couple more if you shift seats, after a certain quarter or inning. Now, if you got a mezzanine kind of situation, you can schmooze a little bit better. You got a skybox, even better. But whenever you plan an event, and this is whether it's an appreciation event or a bring a guest event, make sure you keep in mind connection. How is this event going to help me connect with these people? Wine tastings, again, 15 to 18 people, give or take, but not everybody drinks wine, right? Not everybody wants to do that sort of event. So you have to mix your events up if you want to capture all your clients and all the potential guests that could come. Chocolate tastings is a great thing. Like I said, Nelson Simoes does this after an educational event. Doesn't want people driving home after consuming alcohol, so he has a little bit of a bridge event here. Chef's table, fine dining with guests, again, no more than about 8 to 10 people, preferably a round table because people connect better around a round table if you can make that happen. Now, some folks like to do golf outings. Okay, that's fine. I get that. But, unless you're at the par 3 giving out sleeves of golf balls and greeting everybody, you're not really going to connect with a lot of folks. So think about doing more of a golf lesson. Could be in your backyard, could be at a club. You got a pro there. He's doing a grip analysis, swing analysis. You got a little barbecue, maybe a little beer, wine if you want. And now you're able to connect with people much better around something that you have in common. So think in terms of, again, smaller and connections. We want connections. Boat outings, stay away from the SS Minnow, right? You don't want to be a Gilligan's Island. My friend, Mary Beth Kosmeski, teaches a program that she calls Don't Miss the Boat. And the advisors she works with will have a boat outing. Every river, lake, you name it, that has these different kinds of dinner boats, right? The neat thing is you have a captive audience once they're there. The downside, of course, if they miss the boat, they really miss the boat. And so it's a great thing to consider. Ski trips. Dave Vanderzee is a Olympic caliber skier up in New England. He does ski trips every year. And has built an extremely successful business around the hobby, right? Around something that he's very passionate about. Cooking classes. Jeff Chaddock is in the Dayton, Ohio area. He told me one of the best things he ever did was a sushi rolling class because most people have never been to a sushi rolling class. It's not something you would normally think about doing. And that's what's neat about events is, again, this is whether it's pure appreciation or they're bringing a guest. When you think about the types of events that people wouldn't normally do, it's a great tool. It's a great way to get people to come because it's not something they would normally be able to do themselves or think about doing. And when you can find venues, interesting venues as well, that they might not have access to, that can be very cool. So the thing about sushi rolling classes has a long mental shelf life. Every time someone goes out for sushi with guests, they'll say, oh yeah, I learned how to make that. We learned how to make that. And don't order that. You don't want to know what goes in that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great tool. I have one guy I coached for years in Houston who does it's like his signature event is a racetrack. This is a little larger event. He's got more clients going to this, but they expect this every year. They like going with him and how he kind of sets it up, and he has a little separate room for a little bit of food, and they go to the racetrack and they have a good time. People kind of come and go. It's a bigger event, but it's his signature event. And they always say to him, when are you going to do the next one? And then he has a lot of smaller events sprinkled throughout the year with different topics, different things that people do like to do. Obviously, Valentine's has just passed us not too long ago, but it's never too late or too early, I should say, to think about your next Valentine luncheon. Could be with just single women, could be with clients. We love our clients. The possibilities are endless in terms of how you want to structure this, but usually you want to do it at lunch, of course. You don't want to interfere with the date night of Valentine's. Now, this is one I want to linger on just a little bit because I've seen so many advisors and agents do very well with different types of business exchange events. And usually they start small. Usually what happens is the advisor, the agent says, hey, let's get together, and invites, 5, 6, 7 people that he thinks should know each other, small business owners, other professionals, solopreneurs, whatever they could be in financial services, not usually better to expand out of that and invite just all kinds of small business owners. A lot of the wealth is concentrated in small business. So what's happened for a lot of these folks is these things have expanded because not only do they have a chance to perhaps refer to each other at the event, although that's not the main emphasis, it isn't like a lead exchange. It's not a BNI. It's the chance to just get to know other people and maybe talk about topics related to business. The advisor agent could lead a session. You can bring guests. You can have some of your members educate clients on other aspects to help grow their business. But you become the common denominator. You're the person that communicates the information. You're the central contact point. So people really get to know what you do. And it's a great way to bring guests. It's a great way to create appreciation, extend your reach into the business community. So think about doing that. If you love to fish, do a fishing event, right? What's your interest? What's your hobby? What's your talent? I've had more than one advisors over the years come up to me and say, hey, Bill, I love to cook. My wife and I love to cook. My husband and I love to cook. And what about inviting guests into the home? Absolutely. This could be just your clients, or it could be clients with a guest, with a friend or colleague, right? So let me share with this a specific example. Mike Barrett in Des Moines. I coached Mike for about a year, I guess, a couple years ago, and he told me, well, what we're doing on this is he said that he and his girlfriend go to a lot of events. He's a wine enthusiast, and he and his girlfriend go to tastings, and she's very well connected in the community, and she gets invited to a lot of fundraisings and whatnot that have tastings, and so he was looking for a way, how do I connect with these people in a way that I can connect back with them later, right? How do I talk about what I do in this sort of event? So, what we worked on is he had done a few wine tastings with his firm, but not a lot. So he got into a regular pattern now. Every quarter he does a wine tasting with his firm, his company, his practice. And so now he can invite people to these events because they're regular. He says, well, if he connects with someone over, hey, the cab's good. Oh, yeah, he's talking with another couple. He says, I can see you really like good wine. My firm puts on wine tastings every quarter. Would love to have you come to our next event. Oh, that'd be wonderful. And by the way, what is it that you do that you have wine tasting events? And then he tells them. And so this is a way for him to engage in a conversation with a perfect stranger up until that point. around the hobby, around something they have in common. He invites them to connect again on that thing that they have in common, and not just immediately trying to turn them into a prospect for his business, right? And last year increased his advisory business. So it works. So for those of you who just joined us, I am giving you a free report. There's no tricks. All you got to do is send me an email to Bill Cates at referralcoach.com, put WebX reports in there, and I'll send this report around how the verbiage of how you get your clients to invite guests to these events. So let me give you a few tips, and then we'll open this up for any questions. I don't see any Q&A coming in at this moment, so if you have some, sometimes people put stuff in the chat. So let me see if there's anything in the chat. No, nobody said anything in the chat either. All right, I'm just double checking here, make sure I don't miss any questions. All right, so be clear on the purpose of the event. What do I mean by this? Is this event an appreciation event where you're just saying thank you to clients and engaging in that business friendship and that social aspect of the relationship? That's fine. I love it. I think it's great. Can you say casually, hey, if you have someone you'd like to bring along, by all means, just let me know. Yeah, you can do that. But that isn't going to necessarily create the attendees that you really want to have. So if you want this to be, where they are bringing a guest, I'll give you the verbiage now, and then you can get that report, and because you're not going to be able to copy it down all right now, so just make sure you get that report. So it goes something like this. I'm on the phone with my client, and I say, George, I just want to let you know something we've got coming up. Many of our clients like to invite friends, family, colleagues to introduce them to us and the work we do. And we found one of the best ways to do that is in a social setting where we're not talking about business at all. So we have this wine tasting coming up in a couple months. I'm going to send an invite to you, and then we'll follow up to see if you can have identified anyone you think would enjoy an event like this, number one, and would at least enjoy meeting me. We're not going to talk business, but I will follow up to see if they have any interest in getting together for more of a business meeting. So we'll send the invite out to you. We'll follow up, see if you've identified, and we'll go from there. How's that sound? Oh, sounds great. So it's an easy yes for them. And then you send the invite, and then you follow up. And now this will increase the chances significantly that people will actually invite a guest, right? Will actually invite a guest. So questions are coming in now, so this is good. So let's see. Amanda says, what if you're starting out and not much of a budget? What can you do? Well, first of all, Amanda, this isn't about the money, right? It's not trying to impress people. You're not going to Capitol Grill and ordering fine wine. This really can be very simple. So as you start to talk to your clients and you say, hey, I'm looking for some ideas, some venues and some ideas of how I can show appreciation to my clients and maybe have them invite some guests. And sometimes you get some great ideas from your clients. And the reason I bring this up is because I've had many advisors over the years say that their clients will even offer to do this, right? Oh, we love to entertain. We'll invite all our neighbors. We want them to know about you. So sometimes, now you'll still have to spend a little bit of money on food and drink. So when you have a limited budget, keep it small. So you might want to just start with the birthday type of thing. And with the birthday event, this is definitely not about the money. You're going to try to find some place that's convenient to where these people work, right? Just something fun, not too loud. It's got to be not too loud, but decent enough. So that's one way to do that. Let's see. New location, Medicare sales. I do have hobbies, age-appropriate tennis, painting. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Medicare sales are great for this because you're inviting people in a specific niche. Anytime you have a well-defined core niche, it's always easier to get referrals in general and introductions, and certainly to make these strategies work. Ron says, can you put the slide with instructions on how to get the report up again? Yes, it's coming again, Ron, so don't worry. I put that in a couple places. And then one more, William Hayes says, I teach piano, perhaps a piano lesson event. Sure, why not? Or just having people come to your home or some other venue where you give a little mini concert. Maybe you do a little concert and then you invite people to come up and you have a little way to teach just about anybody how to play something very simple, right? On the black keys, everything's in tune, right, William? So that's a simple way to do that. So it could be a lesson event. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. I don't know how to cancel out the chat, so I'm not going to worry about that. All right. Well, thanks for the question, guys. Let's keep going. Make the invitation special. What do I mean by that? Is call, mail, call. First, call your clients, as you heard me illustrate. If there are people you really want to attend these events, make sure you call them. Don't make the mistake of just throwing things in the mail or sending emails out to people, because you might not get the response you want, especially if you're new at this. If you haven't done this, don't expect the first couple to be just incredible successes. I mean, they can be, but sometimes it takes a little while for your clients to get used to doing this. So then you can mail an invitation, or you can even email an invitation. You can let them know it's coming in an email. I like mailed invitations personally, especially if it's a nice event. But that's just my predilection. It really doesn't matter that much, as long as they know it's coming, to look out for it. And then you follow up with another call. Call, mail, call, right? That's the key to getting people to attend. You can do a creative reminder mailing, right? That sets the tone for the event, the nature of the event. The invitation will kind of reflect that. If it's a sports event or, whatever, you make a nice invitation. All right. Now, if the guests are coming, you want to try to call the guests beforehand. Why? Engagement, right? This is all about engagement. So one of the things you want to do is when you have clients that are inviting someone, say, I would love to reach out to your friend Laura and Bill, just to make sure, see if there's any dietary restrictions, make sure they know how to get to where we're going to be doing this, just to connect a little bit beforehand, to say welcome. And almost every client's going to give you that information. They're happy to have you do that. And what it does for you, of course, is that you've already started the engagement with them even before the event, right? People become clients, feel good about the value, feel good about us. People give referrals, make introductions, feel good about the value, feel good about us. It's all about this connection, right? Consider hiring an event planner. These event planners are not that expensive, especially in relationship to the opportunity that you have in front of you. I'll give you one example. We had an agent at one of our boot camps a few years ago who hired an event planner and was looking for something different, something that people probably had never done before, so she'd get good attendance. And so the event planner said, we can get a bunch of those PlayStations and we can set them up in a party room somewhere, and we can all have fun with that. And that's what they did. They got the back room of some Irish pub, and there was about 22 clients and some guests, and they're all playing with PlayStation and Xbox or whatever they had set up. And they were saying to her, they said, this is the first time we've been able to do this without our kids making fun of us. And so that's one of the values of an event planner, is they'll help you get more creative on your limited budget. They will also, just give you ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. They'll teach you the pitfalls you have to be careful about, right? You don't usually want to talk much about your business unless it's an educational event, right? So you certainly want to acknowledge everybody's there and the realization of the importance of the work you do. Everybody here understands the value of the work that we've done, or you've been invited by someone, right, who understands the value of the important work that we do. So you can acknowledge that. You can plant the seed. You can say, and all of you here, or most of you here, know that we're never too busy to see if we can be a resource for other people you care about. So you can certainly plant the seed. Now, look, have some people done events where the price of admission is someone into the event? Yeah, I've seen that happen. I've seen raffles where they, for every referral you give and put in a hat, you get another ticket for a raffle. I found that most advisors, most financial professionals don't feel comfortable doing that sort of thing. But the truth is, it's relationship and situation specific. If it fits your world and your personality and those of your clients, then by all means, give it a shot. And if you're not sure about something, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to give you my 2 cents on that. Pay attention to details and add a few things that make it special. Definitely visit the venue at the same hour as your event. You may visit it during the day and then realize it at night that the lighting is very poor for parking and for walking to the venue, and a lot of people don't, especially older folks, don't like that. Consider the entire flow of the event, signs or helpers. I've met a couple of advisors over the years who actually works with, either they'll have their staff or they'll work with each other. So let's say, George is having an event. Well, Barbara and Diana and Bob will attend the front part of the event just to direct people. And then when people are all there, then they leave. And then when they have an event, the other people will show up to help with that. So staff, signs, whatever. Seating plan, if relevant. You certainly want to pay attention to who's sitting next to each other if you're having a seated event, right? But you want to make sure personalities are going to fit, etc. You can send a car for older top clients, whether it's a town car or an Uber these days, right? Hire a photographer for couples portraits. A lot of different things you can do to make it a little bit special. So Bush says transitioning is a challenge, generally, in my view. I'm not sure what you mean by transitioning. Bush, if you could elaborate what you mean by transitioning, I'll go back and I'll look at that and see if I can. You may be transitioning to talk to the prospect about a business meeting. Let me know. All right, consider having some staff at some of the events. And the reason we want to do that is because engagement. We always want our clients and prospects to meet other members of our staff. If you have staff, that's important. That's part of engagement with the overall practice. And so you definitely want to do that as well. So Bush says, yes, the transition, how to transition from an event to a business meeting for life insurance, annuities, whatever. So first of all, your client knows that they're inviting people for the purpose of introduction, right? That's the purpose of this event. And the people coming there know that. Why? Because you've been very clear about that. Now, doesn't mean they're going to be, heavy prospecting going on, but they do at least have some bit of interest in meeting with you. And by the way, Bush, I always encourage you to not make this product specific about life insurance or annuities. It could be about important financial decisions. And maybe you're just doing that for me, but with your clients who are inviting folks, generally speaking, you don't want to make this product specific, because if they say, hey, my life insurance agent is putting on this event, you should meet him. Oh, I got all the life insurance I'll ever need. Okay, and then you miss opportunities to meet people, right? And they may have enough life insurance and they may not, or maybe they've never considered annuities, et cetera, et cetera. So best thing to do is make sure people come know. Now, you could, if you clink glasses, if it's not too big an event, you could say, half of you here are clients, we're working together, the value of what we do. The other half, approximately, meeting me for the first time. You're here to have a good time. You're here to meet me, right? You have a sense of the work I do, probably from your friend. I just want to let you know, I will follow up afterwards to see if it makes sense for us together to explore, to see how we might bring some similar value to you. So you could do it in a group setting. You could also do it one by one. You could go by people. And what you're trying to do at this event is just get the assent, the yes, I will take your call later. Hey, George, it's great to meet you. And, your friend Bob said some great things about you. Can I believe what he said? Yeah, good laugh, da-da-da. Well, and, I just want to let you know, I'll follow up later and would like to set up a phone call, just chat a little bit about what we do, your situation, see if it makes sense to have a conversation on that. And so that you foreshadow that conversation is coming, and then you work on that. You just want to get a little bit of verbal agreement that they're going to take your call. Right now, is everyone going to take your call? No, but at least if people agree to it, they're most likely to do it. Also, you want to call to the clients to say thank you in advance. And one of the things you can do is you can ask your client. I was thinking about calling George. He said it would be okay. How did the conversation go on the ride home? Any reason why you think I shouldn't reach out to him, right? So you can actually gauge the guest's interest first by talking to the client who invited them, right? So, by the way, if you're part of a group that brings in speakers, brings in experts to teach things, whether it's a large group, small group. Always looking for opportunities to spread my information to other people and help people similar to this. Those of you know me, there's a lot of different aspects of client acquisition we could talk about. So there's my email address. Shoot me an email. And Bush, you're welcome for my elaboration. Hope that helped a little bit. So real quick on philanthropic and community social events. These can be great events as well because you're doing something good for the community. Clients love that. Clients love to invite their children to that, right? So you're cleaning up a highway, adopt a highway event. And some clients really love that sort of thing. Or Habitat for Humanity or similar type of organization. I had one advisor come to me after a speech, and he says, I love Habitat for Humanity. I'm doing one every quarter. I invite clients. I invite their guests. He says, and it's always best when it rains. And I said, excuse me? He says, yeah, what happens when it rains? If it really pours, we all go into a place where it's, we get a little shelter, or we just get rained on, and it's a bonding experience. And I've stayed in touch with many of these people over the years from that. So we know that human beings tend to bond or connect through adventure. And so if the weather's really bad, sometimes that creates that sense of adventure. Casino night, again, with or without guests, is a way to have some fun, especially raise money for a charity, a good cause. So here's that report again. All you got to do is just send me an email, billcates@referralcoach.com, put WebX reports or just the word reports if you want. I'll know what it is, and I'll get this out to you. I'll get it out with the recording as well. I'll get the recording processed. We'll get that up and going, and then I'll send these out to you, all right? Any other questions coming through? We are nearing the end. Any other questions? This is your chance to type it into the chat or the question. So first of all, if you have a question that comes later, I wish I had asked Bill this, just shoot me an email, billcates@referralcoach.com. Happy to help you any way I can. So I see no other questions coming through. I hope you guys and gals have found this helpful. And here's one, James. Can you please provide a few examples of referral scripts? Tell you what, James, you know what I'm going to do? I'll send that in a report. I'll send it the recording. I have a couple of reports. I have a report about how to get referrals without asking scripts. And I also have a report, it's called Referrals on Fire. And that also gives some scripts around referrals as well. So I will make a note and I will send that out. And you're quite welcome, James. All right, guys and gals, thank you so much. We'll be doing another one with through WebX, Insurance WebX, real soon. They'll tell you all about it. And in the meantime, stay in touch with me. Happy to help any way I can. Thanks, everybody.